Taylor Swift has always written her life into her music, and long before she said yes to Travis Kelce's proposal, she was filling her albums with stories of proposals, aisle walks, crashed weddings, and the dizzying emotions that swirled around the idea of marriage. Now that she's officially engaged to the Kansas City Chiefs tight end, fans are looking back at her discography with a new lens, realizing just how often marriage has been woven into her narratives, sometimes in the form of fairy tale endings, other times in the devastating collapse of those very dreams. For years, Swift seemed hesitant about the idea of tying the knot, both lyrically and in interviews. But now that she's found what looks like a storybook romance, it feels almost poetic to trace how she got here. In some ways, her career has been one long journey from imagining love through the lens of teenage daydreams to finally standing in the reality of a very grown-up engagement. What makes it even more fascinating is that the songs that once felt like works of fiction now read as foreshadowing, almost like Swift wrote the soundtrack to her own future before she lived it. Fans love to make connections, and one of the most jaw-dropping is the fact that in Mary's song, a track from her 2006 debut album, Swift sings about being 87 and 89. At the time, it was just a sweet play on numbers, but now it feels almost prophetic, given that Travis Kelce's NFL jersey is number 87 and Swift was born in 1989. It's the kind of eerie coincidence that makes people believe in destiny, and it has added a magical glow to their engagement. The teenage girl who once sang about pretending to walk down the aisle is now about to do it in front of the entire world, and the parallels between past lyrics and present reality are almost too on the nose to ignore. Of course, the most famous of her marriage songs is Love Story, where she flipped the tragic ending of Romeo and Juliet into a fairy tale where love conquers all. Marry Me, Juliet, You'll Never Have to Be Alone became an anthem for hopeless romantics everywhere. At the time, it felt like a fantasy, the kind of thing a teenager writes when she wants to believe in love against all odds. But now, Swift has her real-life Romeo, and instead of sneaking around behind disapproving parents, she's flaunting her love in front of millions. The narrative has shifted. The fairy tale is no longer a metaphor. This time, it's happening. And maybe that's why fans are so invested, because Taylor Swift didn't just write about love, she invited everyone into the story as if we were all characters in it. But she didn't only write about happy endings. Some of her most powerful marriage-themed lyrics are devastating. In Champagne Problems, she captured the gut-wrenching moment of turning down a proposal, leaving a partner brokenhearted while the world expected celebration. In You're Losing Me, she confessed that she couldn't see herself being the bride, couldn't bring herself to say yes to the wrong person, even when everyone thought she should. These songs hit differently now. Fans can't help but wonder if they were about her long relationship with Joe Alwyn, which reportedly ended partly because of disagreements over marriage. In retrospect, it feels like she was processing that pain in real time through her music, letting us hear the heartbreak of a woman who wanted to be understood, not just married off. And that makes her eventual yes to Kelce even more powerful, because it suggests she's finally found the partner who makes her want to cross that threshold. Of course, Swift has also written playfully about marriage. On Lover, she sang about marrying with paper rings, hinting that the commitment mattered more than the material symbols. She also cheekily worked wedding vows into the Bridge of Lover, and though at the time it was widely believed to be about Alwyn, the words now feel repurposed for Kelce. That's part of the beauty of Swift's songwriting. The lyrics evolve with her life. What once felt like a closed chapter now feels like foreshadowing. And then there's the It's Nice to Have a Friend, where she painted a picture of two childhood friends ending up at the altar, rice on the ground like snow. It's a simple, almost cinematic vision of marriage, and it's exactly the kind of imagery fans now imagine when they think about her future wedding with Kelce. But here's where things get interesting. Now that the engagement is real, the question isn't just which songs predicted it, but which songs might inspire the actual wedding. Swift has never done anything halfway, and you can bet this wedding won't be a low-key courthouse affair. Fans are already speculating about the dress. Will she go full fairy tale with a massive ball gown that echoes the princess imagery of her Fearless era? Or will she surprise everyone with something sleek, modern, and almost rebellious, like a nod to her Reputation era? One thing is certain. Whatever she chooses will set fashion trends for years to come, just as every album era has reshaped aesthetics in pop culture. And then there's the venue. Will she stick with Nashville roots, London elegance, or go bold with a castle-like European backdrop? Swift has the resources to make literally any dream setting happen, and given her flair for storytelling, you know what the location will feel like part of the narrative. Imagine a ceremony staged like a live music video, with subtle Easter eggs for the fans who will dissect every detail. The guest list alone will be a cultural event. Can you imagine Beyoncé, Blake Lively, Ryan Reynolds, Ed Sheeran, and Prince William all in the same pews? Because that's the level we're talking about. And yet, there's also the wild card of drama. Will exes be referenced, avoided, or even invited? Swift is known for turning her personal life into art, and her wedding could either be the clean slate moment she's been craving, or yet another carefully orchestrated chapter in the ongoing narrative of her life. Personally, I think she'll lean into the fairy tale, because for once, she doesn't have to play defense. With Kelce, the relationship has been refreshingly straightforward. He pursued her publicly, he never seemed intimidated by her fame, and he embraced being part of her world while inviting her into his. That balance is something we haven't seen in her past relationships, and it might be why this engagement feels different. And then there's the future. Reports are already swirling that Taylor Swift and Kelce want kids, maybe sooner than people think. Swift once said she imagined having 4 kids, and Kelce has openly joked about baby names on his podcast. If marriage is the beginning of their next era, parenthood might not be far behind. Can you imagine the frenzy when Taylor Swift announces she's pregnant? The headlines would practically write themselves. But it also raises deeper questions. Will she take a step back from touring to focus on family, or will she try to juggle it all? My guess is she'll reinvent the concept of being a working mom in the public eye, just as she has reinvented nearly everything else in her career. What intrigues me most, though, is how Swift herself will process this in her music. Will her next album be filled with glowing, love-soaked ballads about wedded bliss? Or will she surprise us with more nuanced takes, exploring the weight of vows, the pressure of public expectation, and the complexity of building a life with someone under constant scrutiny? Knowing Swift, it will be both. She'll give fans the fairy tale moments while also peeling back the curtain to show the challenges. That's always been her magic, not just telling us the story, but letting us feel the cracks in it too. Right now, it feels like a genuine fairy tale. Swift has spent years writing about heartbreak, proposals gone wrong, weddings interrupted, and rings that never made it onto her finger. Now she's living the opposite. A real proposal, a ring designed with thought and history, and a partner who doesn't just fit into her story, but seems to expand it. The English teacher and the gym teacher, as she cheekily called them, are really getting married. It's poetic, it's surreal, and it's one of those rare celebrity stories that actually feels like it might have a happy ending. Whether the wedding ends up being a grand royal-style affair or an intimate family gathering, one thing is for sure. The entire world will be watching, and Taylor Swift will once again prove that she doesn't just write the soundtrack to our lives, she lives it. For me, the most exciting part isn't the dress, the guest list, or even the inevitable viral photos. It's the idea that Taylor Swift, after writing about marriage for almost 2 decades, is finally going to live it. She's always been a mirror for her fans, capturing their teenage crushes, their devastating breakups, their hopeful second chances. Now she's stepping into a stage of life many of her fans are in themselves, building something lasting. Watching her do it with Travis Kelce, a man who pursued her openly, supports her fiercely, and seems to genuinely make her laugh, feels like watching a new kind of love story unfold. It's not just about the romance, it's about seeing someone who's carried the weight of fame for so long finally look free, happy, and grounded. And that, more than any lyric, is the true fairy tale ending.